Hey there, FlossTube. This is Alma coming to you from Long Beach, California. Today is Saturday, February the 22nd of the year 2020, and this is FlossTube number 8. So welcome to you all to Alma's Little Wonders. Welcome back to all of you returning subscribers, and welcome to you new viewers. Thank you for choosing to spend a little bit of time with me this Saturday morning. And thank you as ever for leaving all those wonderful comments. I always enjoy reading them and replying to them. And feel free to reach out if you do have any questions regarding my whips or anything or how I do things. I did receive several questions this week via Instagram. I had some followers reach out to me via Instagram. So and I did have one person in particular ask me about how I do my gridding. So if I can figure out the logistics of it, I may do a quick tutorial on how I do my gridding on my pieces. I did use a video for reference that was already on YouTube, so I'll go ahead and link that below so you have that for starting points. But I did deviate from it. I kind of took my own spin on it. I believe the video just has you grid like the entirety of the piece at a time, and I tend to grid page by page. So again, if I can figure out the logistics, I may do a video because I don't have anything to hold up the camera or anything right now. I just prop it against my desk. But at most, I may just do a picture-by-picture post on my Instagram or something, just to show you guys what I do, so I can answer those questions. But without further ado, let's get to the stitching. This week was very intense in terms of stitching. I don't know how else to explain it. There was a lot of things going on. I wanted to do all the things all at once, and I kind of had to push back a little, not push back, we're just gonna pull back a little bit, kind of just like clear out my mind and figure out, just focus on one thing at a time, so I can actually get things done. Because what ends up happening when I have, my mind going all over the place, I'll do, 30 stitches here, 30 stitches there, and then it doesn't look like I did much of anything. Having said that, I did do the weekly stitching on the enchanted stitching challenges. So this week was still Frozen. We were doing Frozen, and right now we're at the point where Anna, Kristoff, and Olaf are visiting Elsa and her ice palace. So we're almost done with Frozen, and as I mentioned in my last video, March will be Pirates of the Caribbean. So I'm very excited about that. But so for the weekly challenges, one of the tasks was to do something related to the quote that Kristoff says when he says that ice is my life. Because at this point they're visiting Elsa's ice palace, and he sells ice for a living, so he's fascinated by it. So for that one, I knew that I wanted to do a Disney piece. If you watched my last video, kind of talked about this, because since I filmed on Sunday last week, the prompts were already out for Enchanted Stitching. So I knew that I wanted to do a Disney piece because Disney is my life. But I ended up going with my Esmeralda piece. This is a Tilton Crafts chart based on Daniel Kordick's design, Esmeralda. So so she was the winner. She was just really calling out to me during the beginning of the week, and so I just thought, okay, I'll just go ahead and stitch on her. And I actually ended up stitching over 500 stitches on her, because again, I was just, once I started stitching on her, I've always loved this piece. I love the colors, so I just went ahead and started going, and I ended up finishing this stroke. I call them strokes because it looks like it's paintbrush strokes. So I just finished this really large piece right here, and yeah, that ended up being over 500 stitches. So I used her for 2 prompts. I used her for that prompt for Ice is My Life because Disney's my life, and I also used her for the prompt that had to do with Olaf having his body kind of cut in half essentially when they escape from Elsa's palace and he can't feel his legs. We were supposed to work on a piece where you stitch on something that has legs but you can't see them. So I used her because the picture actually it cuts off right about the thigh, so you can't really see her legs, and even if like they're hidden underneath her dress. So I just used that for for the prompt, and it ended up going again 515 stitches specifically. We were supposed to do 250 stitches for each prompt, but I just ended up stitching a little bit over, just for the sake of being able to finish off the paintbrush stroke of that color. And yeah, I'm very excited of how this is coming out. The goal is to just kind of move my way along the brush strokes to get a page finish soon, because I haven't been able to finish a page of this one, and I think it's pretty sad because I do love it. So I'll continue to use her because I am using her for one of the parks in Full Coverage Fanatics, so I know that she will get a lot more work done. For her, the goal is to reach 10,000 stitches by the end of the year. And right now I'm about 4,500 stitches. So I technically only have to do 150 stitches a week in order to meet that goal. So this week, again, she was just really calling out to me, so I just decided to go ahead and keep the momentum going since I had it. Another prompt we had for magic or enchanted stitching was to stitch on something that has hair, because of the white streak that Anna has going on her hair for when Elsa strikes her. She strikes her with one of her ice shards or whatever. So I pulled out my Lilac evening piece. This is a Rioli's kit, and again, so she has hair, and I actually managed to stitch on her hair because that's where I was at. So I again just kind of went above and beyond. The prompt only called for 250 stitches, but I did 300. And again, I don't I don't necessarily limit myself, because again, sometimes I will just finish off of a length of floss and call it a day at that, or again, if the momentum is like in full force, then I'll keep going. But I was very excited because I found out that for the Stitch from Stash group, where you claim credit for finishes, I knew that there was a possibility to claim page finishes. So I reached out to one of the moderators of the group and asked if it was possible to just claim partial credit if you finish like a quarter of the piece, because for this piece I've already done a quarter. So I asked if it was okay to claim the partial finishes, and then you get extra points for beading and specialty stitches. So I asked and I got the okay. So I was very excited. So I'll be able to claim credit for the quarter page, or we'll just finish off the entire quarter of the entire piece, and then just claim the entire beading at the end, because that's the way I'm going to work the piece. So I was very excited to find out that I could do it. And then another prompt for Enchanted Stitching was to work on a prompt that we didn't think we could do at the time because of when Anna tells Elsa to get rid of the Eternal Winter, and Elsa says, I can't, I don't know how. So again, pulled out a piece that we initially thought we couldn't do, or there was some sort of a challenge. So for that one, I pulled out my Hogwarts Castle piece because this was, I think this really was the first like full coverage piece that I picked up, having worked on DMC. I'm sorry about the clip here. I'll just take out the product page. There we go. No more glare. But yeah, this is the first one that I picked up that was that big and full coverage. So even though I loved the picture, I fell in love with it, and I totally knew that I wanted to do it, I was still a little bit intimidated because again, it was a very big undertaking. And I'm actually also using this for the one prompt that we had for magical stitches. We had to do 1,000 stitches on one prompt, on one whip. So I actually have not finished the 1,000 stitches yet. I've gotten to 630 stitches so far. It's back on its Q-snap with the Harry Potter grime guard, and all is right in the world now. I was using this Q-snap for Snow Girl for a while, and then I just decided to go ahead and switch it out. But yeah, I'm essentially working my way up now on this column to finish. It's pretty much all black at this point. And the partial page is from here down. So I'll only go up to here. Again, if I need to finish off the length of the floss, I will. But yeah, at this point, I'm just trying to get that partial page finish. I think I only have like 3 or 4 more columns to go before that happens. So I'm very excited about it. Again, I'll just keep working on this today and tomorrow so I can go ahead and finish off the 1,000 stitches for the magical stitches prompt. And again, I have to do 1,000 stitches on it anyways to meet my goal of stitching 100,000 stitches on it, or reaching, I should say, reaching 100,000 stitches on it by the end of the year. So that shouldn't be a problem. Again, I do have the entirety of the weekend ahead of me to finish it off, and it's less than 400 stitches, so I don't think it'll be a problem. But once I was done with the weekly prompts on Enchanted Stitches, I actually moved on to some of the monthly challenge prompts. So there was one prompt where you have to build a snowman, and I started working on those using my Mirabilia. So I started this at the beginning of the month, and this was actually one of my focus pieces for the Whip Go group, where Jessie Marie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff, she calls out 2 numbers. It's your standard bingo board, so 25 slots with a free slot in the middle. She calls out 2 numbers for each month, and those become your focus pieces. And for each piece, you have to have a goal. So you either meet your goal or you don't. For this one, since it is a new piece, the goal was to stitch 500 stitches on it by the end of the month. Last week I did 250 stitches, so I only had half of that to go. So I used her because when we're building a snowman, we have to use black for the eyes and the buttons, I think. yeah, the buttons. I touch my nose, but it's because I'm thinking. But yeah, no, it's the eyes and the buttons that he has going down his body. And you had to do 100 stitches for the eyes and then 100 stitches for the buttons. And again, I was stitching on this while I was watching Outlander. Love that show. Obsessed with that show. Really good show. You should watch it. But so again, I was just watching TV, so I just kept on going. I ended up doing 300 stitches. So I was able to meet the 500 stitch goal for Whip Go. So that's one piece down for Whip Go. The second focus piece is Peter Pan. So this week I will go ahead and focus on that piece throughout the week, so I can hit the Whip Go goal for that as well. And for Mirabilia, for the Mirabilia piece, I'm actually using it also for next month for Mirabilia March. So that's going to get some work done also next month. Another prompt that we had for Enchanted Stitching Challenge for the month was to do 2,000 stitches on white or ecru or the DMC color 3865, which is, it's like just slightly different than white. It's all snow colors. The reason it's 2,000 is because apparently there's 2,000 animated snowflakes in the movie Frozen. So of course I pulled out Snow Girl, which is another one of my Tilton Craft charts, also based off of Daniel Kordek's design. This is my focus piece for the 20 in 20 challenge in full coverage fanatics, where you have to stitch 20,000 stitches in the year 2020. So for that one, I did 550 stitches this week. Here I took off the top so you can see the edge. So I'm all, as you can see, or you may not be able to see, I don't know. No, the lighting's not gonna be working very well this time around. I'm just working my way down now to the bottom of the border. So I've done 1,500 stitches of the 2,000. So I will also work on this a little bit this weekend so I can get a head start on those last 500, so I can go ahead and hit those 2,000 stitches for the monthly challenge. And again, this is also used for an ultimate task in magical stitches. Those are the 500. That's also why I tend to do the 500 stitch increments, is because that's how those challenges work. So I am using it for one of those challenges where you have to travel to every park. So I think for Paris, you have to do 5,600 stitches. So this definitely will be a piece to use for that, because again, it'll also go towards the 20 in 20 challenge. So I'm very excited about that coming along as well. And as I mentioned earlier, the second Whip Go piece is Peter Pan. So I'll show you guys the finished image for that first. This is Tinkerbell and Peter Pan Fly to Neverland. It's the MCG Textiles kit based on Thomas Kincaid's Disney Collection artwork. And this is what I've gotten done so far. So far I've only done a little bit over 400 stitches on it this week. Again, I'll go ahead and keep working on this to hit the Whip Go board goal but this week I kept going on Tinkerbell a little bit. I did get started, I don't know if you can tell, but I kept working on her hair a little bit, but for the most part this week I finished her wings, and then I started on the clock tower. So there was a lot of metallics in this little section right here. Gold this time. For Tinkerbell I was using the, it's more like I don't even know what color. It's filament. It's clear, but it's got like pinks and purples. This is just metallic gold. So for this piece, the whip goal is to finish off this section right here, these three. At this point, since I have been going beyond that grid line for some sections, I may just do and like continue doing this part right here. But then if by the end of the week I can't finish that row, then I'll still, because I'll just do the equivalent. I'll just say, oh well, I did stitch a few down here, so that makes up for it. Just because based off what I do have left at this point, I don't know if I'll be able to finish that row, because it looks like it'll be about 600 to 700 stitches. So, and I tend to do about 500 stitches on that weekly, but we'll see. Maybe again, if I do use it as a focus piece for this week, I may just go ahead and you know, claim it as a finished goal, because again, I was able to finish off Veronica, so I did go ahead and fill in her square since I did reach the 500 stitch mark. So Peter Pan's over here still, so I outlined it because it's the number called, but I don't fill it in until I reach that goal for myself for that month. And they'll also have yearly goals, so those if I do end up meeting them, I may just outline it again in a separate color, like green or something, just to symbolize that I did meet the yearly goal. But yeah, the next two numbers will be called later on this week. I think on the 27th of each month is when she calls out the numbers, so we'll know around the middle of the week what we're in for, which is very exciting. It's always exciting to have the numbers called and see how the plans are going to change accordingly. But one of the finishes the starts that is set up for this week is Mystic Stitches Change of Seasons. So I'm very excited. This is going to be a leap day start. Starting this with Zakia of Lady Wing Designs, and as I mentioned earlier in my video, I did have the fabric for it, so I will go ahead and at least get the gridding done for the first page so that I can start stitching this on Saturday, on leap day. But I'm very excited about it. I loved the design when I saw it. So and again, it's the whole purpose of the leap day start is that you finish it by the next leap day. So I essentially would have to do, you know, a quarter of the design each year. So that shouldn't be a problem. I don't think it will be a problem, but everything sounds good in theory. That is what I've learned. Everything sounds really good in theory, and it sounds like it's going to be no problem, and then you actually start stitching and you realize stitching takes time. I was thinking of my villain piece, the one with the Snow Queen and Ursula, Maleficent, and Cruella. Originally, I thought I was going to be stitching on that as we went along throughout the year, because we're reading those books for magical stitches, and I think I got maybe like 600 stitches in, 700 stitches in when I first started it, and then that's it. I haven't picked it up in like 2 weeks, if not more. But because I did think about it, I decided I am going to use it for the rest of the Enchanted Stitching monthly challenge of building a snowman, where you have to use white for the body. I originally was going to use the portrait of Veronica because she has white in her dress, but I realized that the white doesn't really come in until like the middle of her dress, and this is just like really light teals, so I wasn't able to use this, or as I originally wanted to, for that prompt. But again, I went ahead and stitched another 100 stitches on it anyways to reach the whipco board goal, so I wasn't mad. So I may use the villain piece for that the rest of the prompt. There's also a part where you have to stitch on something orange for the nose, for the carrot nose. So I thought about bringing out my Afromov piece. It's a Heaven and Earth Designs based on Leonid Afromov's artwork, which is His Way Home. Because I know for a fact I'm working on the top left corner, which has a lot of reds and yellows and oranges. So I thought I may use that one, but I haven't taken it out in a long time. It's not necessarily calling out to me at the moment, and I would have to do 200 stitches because half stitches count as half. So if the prompt calls for 100, I would have to do 200. So I don't know. I don't know if I'll actually get around to it, because it's yeah, it's been a while since I took it out. But it is the only piece that I have where there's orange. Esmeralda has orange, but I haven't gotten to that section yet. And I don't think I've gridded that far. Again, just because of the way that I'm working that piece at the moment, I don't want, even if I do have orange in there, I don't feel like using it for that prompt, because that would just mess up how I'm working it. But again, if I do feel like it, I have a week, so if I do feel like it, I'll go ahead and use it for that prompt. But I'm not. Again, everything sounds good in theory. I'm not going to push myself, because again, I do have a substantial amount of work to do on Peter Pan. So again, I may just focus on that piece. And I feel like that would be a good thing to do this week, because I'm just gonna bring it back out again to show you guys, because once I do finish that row, oops, sorry, it's going to be a page finish. That'll get me a page finish, and then at that point I'll have officially reached the 75% mark, and then I'll just have that bottom corner to go, the bottom 25%. So yeah, so I feel like I should focus on that so I can get that page finish. And that way I'll have two things to claim for Stitch from Stash. I'll have the quarter page done on Lilac Evening, and then this page finish on Peter Pan as well. So that'll make up for the chart that I bought. I think that between those two, it should get me back to the black. So not negative as I am right now. But yeah, I suppose I'll just call that a day as far as stitchy goals go, because again, I seem to say all these things that I'm going to do and the plans, and I'm gonna work on this and then on that, and then everything goes up in smoke. I mentioned on one of my previous videos that I wanted to get as many finishes done, so there's that as well. Since I am starting a few full coverage designs coming up soon, I did want to finish as many small pieces. Like Peter Pan is not small, but that is one of the goals, is to finish Peter Pan this year. But Lilac Evening and some of my other kits as well, I wanted to get those done and out of the way before summer comes, because that's when I'll be starting three more full coverage designs. I'm starting July with Tess from Tess Stitches. I have a birthday start coming up for my birthday. And yeah, and I have another start queued up as well, which I'll talk about when that comes. But yeah, so those are gonna be very time consuming, so that's why I wanted to do the page finishes or the small finishes, to make sure that I have some sort of progress done on those pieces before new focuses come into mind. Which for His Way Home, the goal is to do 25,000 stitches on that, and I think I only have like 4,000 left to go. So who knows, like maybe doing 200 stitches on it this week may be good, because I'll just be working towards the goal of hitting all those yearly goals, hitting as many yearly goals as possible before June comes. So we'll see where the mojo takes me. But that is it for me this week. Again, I feel like I didn't work on as many pieces, but I did get substantial work done on the few that I did. Again, the average was like 500 on each piece. So it has been productive, focused on a few projects for the entirety of the week. And again, I will continue working on Hogwarts and Peter Pan, so I can meet those goals and finish that prompt for magical stitches. So we'll see. We'll see what I can get done next week. We'll see if I can do the weekly challenge for Enchanted Stitches. I know I did work on another prompt for the Stitchy Quest, so the Lord of the Rings challenge group, stitching group that is on Facebook. Because for that group, I'm working on the yearly challenge that they have going all year round, where there's a list of like 60 prompts. So you do a random number generator, and that's the prompt that you work on. I did do a prompt on that one this week. I ended up just double dipping my stitches on Hogwarts for that one. So it's not necessarily that I worked on a separate piece, I just double dipped and just made it count for the prompt as well. But yeah, I'll let you guys know next week what ends up happening with the prompts, and until then, happy stitching, guys. Bye.